Hello, this video shows you how to get started with time series forecasting. Now, many of you are trying to do a project on forecasting something based on date and time. So, this video should be helpful to you. And we are going to use a very simple, typical dataset for a demonstration, but it will work on more complex datasets as well. And we are going to show you how to use Google Colab to get some quick visualizations. And the good news is you don't need to learn a lot of new code for that. And then lastly, I'm going to show you how to get some useful resources from Kaggle. So let's get started. Now I'm going to open a very simple dataset in Excel. This is a CSV file. And as you can see, it has only 3 columns. The first one is called label, the second one is called date, and the third one is called some data. And let me try to double click on the boundaries so that I can see the data completely. And you will notice that somehow it aligned the contents in the cell in a different way. But don't worry, it doesn't affect our processing. Move the window to one side, okay, so we can compare the result when it is processed in Google Colab. Okay, so this is the very standard cells. So we import pandas and numpy, and then we are going to read this CSV file. So let's do it. Now, we are going to get an error if we do it now because we don't have the file under our sample data file. So no problem. So let's upload the file to our session. Okay, and notice that this file will be deleted after we close our session. Okay, there's a way to get around this problem, which is to use the mount command in Google Drive. You can find that information quite easily. Okay, so let's do it again. I think I renamed the file. As you can see, it's called date only. So I can copy the name from here and then just rename it. Now I renamed it because the file contains only date, but no hours or time of the day. But the idea is still the same. So let's run again. Now this time has no problem. As you can see, the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 are the default indexes for each row. And then the first column is label, okay, which is label here. Date is date. And some data is some data. Now you already see there are some pop-up buttons here. Okay, the first one is to change this into an interactive table. You can try that, but I don't find it very useful. Okay, so let's try this suggest charts. And it's going to take a little while. And after that, if you scroll down, you will see some suggestions. Okay, now this begins to look quite nice, right? Distributions, 2D distributions, time series. Okay, so let's look at some of them. Let's look at 2D distribution. You click it, it will show you the code for plotting that chart, and it's asking if you're okay with that. Yes, I'm okay with that. Okay, if you don't want it, you can cancel it. But in this case, I want it. So I add this cell to my notebook. And you see, the code is already shown here. And of course, you can run it. Now you see a scatter plot. Okay, it's using matplotlib that we have learned already. Okay, and it's going to do a scatter plot. The x-axis are the values from the label column. which is this column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, as you can see, all the way up to in this case only up to 40, but actually we have quite many data. Okay, maybe it's using some kind of AI, okay, because it knows that we are looking only at the first 40 columns. Now, of course, we may be interested in the time series, so let's click that. And again, it's going to show us the code. I'm fine with that. Add cell. Now this time, the cell is added before or on top of the cell, the 2D plot we have done already. Now, if you run it, you're going to get that very nice line graph here. And notice that we are getting some data, which is this column, against the label, but not against the time series. Okay, because these are just sequential numbers. Okay, and then if you have different days here, okay, then you may see our different distribution. For example, in terms of date, okay, it's not entirely sequential because after the 29th of May, we don't have 28th, we only have 27th, and so on. Okay, so there are some gaps. And of course, you can change it. For example, in the plotting, the series, instead of using label, we can ask it to use date, because that's the name of the header of that column, right? Or the feature. Some data is still some data, no problem. Okay. And then, so whenever you see label, you should change it to date. Now, this date is just for the sorting. Okay, so let's still do it. Okay. Now, this date is only for the label of the x-axis, so you can call it end date. Okay. Days. Okay, you can call it days because it's only for here. And then you may say this is a target. You can change it, and let's run it. Now the graph looks a little bit different because as I mentioned before, okay, it's going to sort the values in the date column here. Okay, and then you see there are some cycles here, and the labels are horrible because previously it knows that there are sequential numbers, so it prints them out very nicely. But now that we have such long numbers, it doesn't know what to do, so it still tries to plot everything here, which makes it look horrible. Okay, but you get the idea, right? Okay, so that's the first thing you can do. Now, the problem with the charts we are seeing right now is that Google Colab doesn't know that this date column or date feature is a date. It doesn't know that. Okay, although the header, the feature header says date, but it doesn't know it's a date. So how can we tell it is a date? Well, that's actually a very simple trick. So let's go down here and let's insert a new code cell. Okay. Now let's try to load the same data set, but this time we are going to set the index to date. So let me get the code here. Okay. Now df is the same as before, but I'm going to set the index. Okay, previously the index was just some kind of sequential number created by pandas as it loads our CSV, but we don't want that as our index. Instead, we want the date column, this column, as our index. Okay. Now that this has become the index feature, or the index of our data frame, we say that we want to convert them into date and time so that Google Colab can do more things with it. Now let's run this cell. Now it looks a little bit different right now. Okay, the sequential numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 are gone, and it is replaced by the column date as the index. Okay, and interestingly, the label column itself has become a feature, which is not going to be useful because these are just sequential numbers. Okay, now that Google knows that these are days, then let's try the recommended charts again. You go down here, and then there's also a time series. Okay, and there's some values. So let's do this one. Again, it's showing us the code. Let's add the cell, and let's run it. And again, it's using the wrong column. So we need to drop the column that we don't need. So let's add a cell after this. And we are going to say df drop columns equals, and we are going to give it a list of the columns that we are going to drop. In this case, the list has only one element, which is label. So let's run it. And we have an error, so let's try to fix it. It should be a square bracket, no problem. Let's run it again. And oh, I see. The drop method actually is a method, so it should be parentheses on both sides. Okay, now that you see the label column is dropped. So let's do the recommended charts again. And then you see the values here. Okay, and then let's click it and add this cell. And let's run it. Now the data look are not nicer. Okay, that's because now it knows that we have a date column with a date column, okay, as the index. Okay, and it's of date and time, so it knows how to sort it and how to present it nicely. Okay, this is presented in every 2 months. Okay, so once you get to this point, okay, you are on your way to doing forecasting more easily. Why? Because forecasting based on time is just regarding time as an extra feature. You can take a look at the whole time as the feature, or you can take a look at the time and then use the day of the month or the month of the year, for example May, or the year itself as a feature. Now how do you do that? Well, you can go to Kaggle to search for that information. So let's open a new tab. Let's go to kaggle.com. It's a very useful website, and you can create a free account. Okay, I have created my own free account. So let's do a search, and I've done my search before, so you can search for time series forecasting with machine learning. And then the first one seems to be very useful, okay, and it's got quite a lot of comments. Feel free to explore other results. Okay, so I would like this one, and you see this YT. YT represents YouTube, so it means that this guy has also a video explaining his code, so it looks interesting. So let's click it. And then this is his notebook. Okay, looks very, very interesting. So the nice thing about Kaggle is that you can just click edit my copy and it will create a copy for you. So now it has become your notebook and you can try it. So these cells are markdown cells. As you can see here, this is a markdown cell, so you don't have to run it. Okay. Now this is a cook cell, and of course you have to run it. And there's some explanations here, and you can watch the YouTube video to look at the explanations. Okay, so watch the video here. And actually, while it's running, let's open this tab.
JSON document databases sound interesting, but do you really want to give up SQL, joins, and ACID? With Couchbase, you don't have to. Couchbase is a...
Hey YouTube, in this video we're going to talk about time.
So he's going to explain his this code to you. Okay. Now that we have finished loading the data. Okay, and the data is shown here. Okay. And then what you can do is you can take a look at the data itself. Now you may ask, okay, what does this data look like? Well, in his original notebook, this cell doesn't exist. So I'm teaching you how to look at the actual data. Okay, so based on the same data frame, I used the dots to CSV method and create a CSV file. Okay, and then I'm going to read it back and I'm going to show the information and I'm going to look at the first I think 5 rows. So let's do it. Now you see there was an error. It was because I only ran this cell, but I didn't run this cell. Okay, that's why DEF was not defined. So I run it again. So let me just do it again for the sake of completeness. Okay, it's run. Okay, no problem. Now I can run this. And that's the output of the info here. And also the output of the head, as you can see here, which is a really simple data set. Okay, so there are only 2 columns. The first column is day and time. The second column is some kind of voltage output. Now, the actual file looks something like this. And as you can see, this is quite different from the first example. In the first example, there are no time of the day. Okay, but in this file, there's time of the day. The same trick was used. Okay, so it still set the index to this daytime column, okay, which was in the original file, and then it uses the days time method to convert the index to daytime. Okay, so this is the original file. If you do the df.head here, then you see something different, because you see the index is the day and time. Okay, so from now on you can try to follow this notebook, and then you should be able to do a lot of things. Okay, so in this video I've shown you how to look at a simple typical data set for time series forecasting and use Google Colab to get some quick visualizations and how to get some useful resources from Kaggle. So thank you very much. Bye bye.